Hey everybody, welcome to episode 3 of the History Made Awesome podcast. I am Eric, and we're here again with Ben,
Hello.
who was doing fine, I think. Hopefully in New
Oh
York,
yeah. Yep. Still
better than
in
what's going
New
on in other parts of the world.
York. We just moved over to Brooklyn. No
Uh,
longer on like the 40th floor of a giant building anymore.
oh, it must be terrible.
Ah, I mean, the other place is definitely nicer. It's a lot more expensive though.
That's cool. That's cool. So I think we're just gonna jump into it. So speaking of the East Coast, Florida is now gonna get hit with another one. Not another one, but a
Yeah.
new one. Excuse
Yeah.
me, Hurricane Irma. It's supposedly one of the largest ever recorded, a Category 5.
hmm Yeah. The one that hit Texas was also Category 5 though.
But what makes this thing bigger? I know that they're looking at the size of it, and they're saying it's like the size of Texas with like 200 mile per hour winds and extremely large. Not only the rain, but also you have the waves as well coming in and making things.
Yeah, that is one of the big problems. When a hurricane hits the coast, it has I forget what it's called. It makes the sea level rise near the coast just
Mhm.
because of the winds.
Mhm.
It ends up being nearby
Yeah, and
even
it's
without the rain.
yeah, and it's also it's already kind of created a path of destruction, especially in the Caribbean. I think it hit Cuba, North Cuba, like the eastern part of Cuba,
hmm
like yesterday, was it? Am I correct with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's gonna hit the Florida. It's already. I don't know if it's gonna hit Florida today or tomorrow. Um, what were they saying on that? Do you remember?
I honestly, no, I'm not sure. I know that the evacuation has already been called though.
Yeah, yeah. So they're already calling for mandatory evacuations.
Yeah, and I know Georgia's going to start evacuating starting Saturday.
But they said that it was actually gonna become a Category 4 by the time it hit Florida, right?
Yeah, it's gonna ease up a little bit.
Yeah, but they're saying that even though it's a Category 4, it's like nothing. It's no joke, right? I think that's what
Well,
they were
no,
saying.
category five. I mean, category five is literally the absolute highest it goes. So being
Yeah,
one step below the worst isn't that good.
I know. And then speaking of the hurricane, especially to kind of give like an idea of like how bad it is, especially I believe in some of the Caribbean islands. I do
hmm
not remember what was some of the islands they talked about. Um,
All
I
of
think
them.
there's St. Bart's. Another one was I'm looking at it. Let's see. Saint Martin and Saint Barthélemy, which are both French, it's called the Islands of Guadalupe. No, I don't know. The two main
It hit a
islands.
lot of the islands. I mean, it hit
Yeah,
Barbuda,
yeah.
Anguilla, Puerto Rico,
Mhm.
hit all of the Virgin Islands, hit
Mhm.
Haiti.
Mhm.
I think it hit the Dominican Republic.
Yeah, I think the worst that were the ones that hit the worst was Saint Barthélemy and Saint Martin, and even which are both owned by the French and Dutch respectively, who which are
hmm
pretty much like leftovers of their colonial empire, pretty much. Things got so bad there that actually they had to deploy troops to stop the looting that was occurring, also provide aid, and uh,
Yes.
and it just kind of tells you that power, especially when you look at a country that's not as well off. I guess a territory that's not as well off compared to the mainland United States, who have the resources. It kind of tells you what a Category 5 hurricane of that magnitude would do to the local population.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the looting goes, though, I mean, it's not anything new, really. As far as it doesn't only happen in lower income areas. It also happened
Yeah.
with Hurricane Katrina. It's just
Hmm.
anytime there's widespread devastation, it's like, oh, there's nobody around. I can go steal everything I want.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Um, but yeah, it kind of tells you the force that's going on there, which is crazy.
hmm
And then also on that as well, yeah, there's a serious thing, right, where you have like there's lots of devastation that
hmm
can happen. People need to get out of the area as quick as they can, and you have of course the traffic backed up on roads trying to get there, and people are trying to fly out and they're just stuck. Um,
Yep.
I'm surprised we could find some funny things in it.
Yeah.
One of them is kind of messed up though. We everyone knows who Rush Limbaugh is, and supposedly he thinks that the evacuation order that's like being put in place in Florida where he does his show is actually it's a scheme to kind of progress this idea of like a what is it like
Climate change.
pl-
It basically, part of climate change is, well, weather's going to get more severe
yes.
because of everything that's happening.
Mhm.
And so when all of these, severe weather things start happening, like is predicted,
Mhm.
he's just like, oh, well, it's all, they're overplaying it. It's overhyped. All of the hundreds of billions of dollars of destruction. It's just, it's just overhyped. It's fine. And then he had a mandatory evacuation. He had to leave
Mhm.
the city or the part of Miami that he does his show.
Mhm.
So then he had to not quite admit it. He said, he's like, yeah, okay, so I can't do the this week because of legal reasons.
Mhm.
And everyone's like, yeah, the legal reason is you were forced to evacuate because of the severe storm.
Exactly. It's like no, they're just doing that just to like make everyone's weekend like shitty or whatever. It's like no, they're not
Mm-hmm.
trying to protect lives. That was just like hilarious. I mean, not hilarious, just like idiot.
Yeah, it's just, oh man, extreme person doing extremely stupid things.
Exactly.
It's entertaining.
Speaking of entertaining, on the same subject, I was looking on BBC just looking for interesting articles. The funniest thing I found, I'm gonna have to read
Oh yeah.
everyone the thing or whatever. But essentially, you have people who evacuate all these other different things. This one group of people is some are actually planning. Hold on. Some are planning to fire bullets into the storm or use flamethrowers and lasers to show the resistance
Yeah,
against a
they're fighting the
hurricane.
storm.
America, F yeah. So
Oh my god.
so some Americans think that they can. Well, I don't know if I think it's a joke, but one
It's
it's a
it's
joke,
a
yeah,
joke. Yeah.
yeah. But it was hilarious, and you have like a whole bunch of people like sending up pictures. All these news stories that we talk about on the podcast are going to be in the description of the YouTube link and
Mm.
also on SoundCloud, so you can guys check them out. But when I saw this was hilarious. I could not stop laughing. Like it totally made my week. Totally. It's, you have like their owners with their dogs with a pistol or whatever.
Yeah, that
One
was a good
person
one.
has on their calendar flame throwing Hurricane Irma. It's, it's hilarious. I could not stop laughing for that one.
Yeah, and so there's one person who set up the group, and 43,000 people signed up to be part of the group to fight the hurricane.
Yeah, they create like
Oh man.
they create like a diagram that shows like the bullets that won't come back at you, and
Yeah, I would say the very first thing when I first saw the headline, I was like, oh no, people are gonna get hit by the bullets because it's weather, it's gonna whip it around and hit it back to you.
Mhm.
But yeah, then there's like a diagram saying, okay, shoot at this part of the hurricane, that way the bullets don't hit you.
Exactly. I just and then
It's
the funniest one for me, like the one that just like set me off was like not set me off, but like in a good way was that one person responded by saying like, if you shoot at the hurricane, would it make it matter? Like you would be able to make
yeah.
the thing more upset. Brilliant. And like I just I love the internet so much. It's so funny.
Oh my God, yeah. It's crazy stuff happening.
And then on the same subject, I like how for some reason the hurricanes creating a whole bunch of things. I mean,
Yeah, a lot of
Uh,
stuff going on.
so pretty much we have Donald Trump in the White House, who is pretty much he's pretty much from the onset said that he will not work with the Democrats. He will not. The GOP has also continued that idea that they will not want to work with the Democrats. You can definitely see that
Yeah,
type of divide, and it's interesting how a force of nature such as Harvey sorry, kind of burpy has instituted this kind of working together between Trump and the Democrats, which is
kind of. It's really weird and unexpected.
yes, yeah.
I mean, you can say it's because of the weather, but it almost just seems like it's just kind of at a whim.
Mhm.
um, so the story of it is that the Texas obviously needs a lot of aid right now,
Mhm.
and FEMA, the federal organization that deals with the aid money and uses it to help rebuild, is running out of money.
Mhm.
So Congress needed to pass a bill to give them more money,
Mhm. Well, to stop the
and
government from shutting
everyone,
down. Yeah, to stop.
yeah, that's a separate issue, but it ended up getting tied into it.
Yeah.
There's the debt ceiling.
Mhm.
So basically, since there's a Republican in office right now, the GOP wants to just raise the debt ceiling for, for as long as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Just raise it all the way up. Don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Let them spend as much as we can right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, most of the GOP. There's actually a few people who are actually like fiscally conservative,
Mm-hmm.
and they actually are like sticking by their morals, which is really rare.
Yeah.
Usually the party just kind of sticks together. It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
So the Democrat or Trump actually agreed to meet with the minority, was it the head of the Senate and the head of the House
Minority leaders,
to,
right?
yeah, both the minority leaders.
Mm-hmm.
I think he actually met with all the leaders, minority and the majority
Yeah, yeah,
leaders. I
he
think
did.
all of them met at the
All of
same
them.
time.
Yeah, but he made deals with
And the
them.
minority leaders asked
Mm-hmm.
for the aid bill to be passed with a certain amount, and then also to have the debt ceiling be raised for just 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
That way, they don't have to try to play politics while dealing with the aid.
Mm-hmm.
Because the GOP wanted to make a fight out of it and be like, "Oh no, we want to raise it for the next year and a half,"
Mm-hmm.
and we want it to be tied in the aid bill. So therefore, if you say no,
Mm-hmm.
that means we can tell everyone that you're saying no aid for Texas, and they wanted to
Yeah.
make a big game out of it.
Yeah.
And Democrats are like, we want to just delay it for 3 months. Like, we want to have this fight, but we want to have it a little bit later. We want to be able to regroup a little better
Yeah.
and not have this whole crisis being tied into it.
Mm-hmm.
And Trump just agreed, just automatically just agreed with the Democrats, and
Mm-hmm.
everyone was shocked.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely makes sense. I mean, I mean, I can kind of see. And it's funny because I've been reading a bunch of reports why Trump has accepted this. Um,
Hmm.
um, of course, that there's people who said that that Trump's kind of based his presidency around results, and I guess for some people they think that if Trump doesn't accept trying to get something done with like this aid or the debt ceiling, that it's kind of seen as a negative thing because he's kind of predicated his entire thing like I'm a man who gets results. And
Yeah.
if he doesn't get this type of result, like he doesn't get aid to people who are in Texas, it's kind of seen as a negative thing. Like this is a guy who just is stagnant, doesn't do anything. So I think, and plus, like his presidency
Hmm.
recently has not been, he's not been like be able to do the things that he's wanted to, like
Yeah,
Medicare,
none of his big things have happened.
like Medicare has
The
failed.
repeal didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, the big repeal didn't happen.
Mhm.
The border wall doesn't have any money toward it yet.
Mhm. So
Um,
yeah.
even the what was it, the immigration stuff. He just did that thing with the DACA,
Mhm.
but actually with the same Pelosi, the one of the minority leaders,
Mhm.
actually said as part of I'm not sure if it was the exact same deal or part of the same conversation, said I want you to tweet that the people 800,000 people,
Sorry, say that
um,
again.
they don't have to be deported in the next the people who so there's 800,000 people now who are in the country under the Dream Act, under the DACA.
Mhm.
And Trump said, okay, I'm going to have it be completely canceled, but with a 6 month like pause, basically.
Yeah.
So like for the next, in other words, is 6 months from that date, it's just going to end.
Mhm.
And Pelosi, as part of the deal with Trump, said, okay, but I want you to tweet that the people who are currently under the DACA don't have to worry during those 6 months. In other words,
Mhm.
you're not going to like, okay, it's going to end in 6 months, so you have to get out now, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And Trump listened and he did it and he did the tweet. And anyway, it's just interesting. It's like it seems like he's just kind of doing what they want right now, and no one is really sure why.
Yeah, and it's kind of
And
it's kind
there's
of yeah.
some
Yeah, go. Continue, continue.
I was just saying there's some people in the Democratic Party are like, okay, if he's listening to us right now, then try to get more, like
Mhm.
try to push him more.
Mhm. And
So some people are upset about the smallness of the deal.
mhm. And then also like there's two things you kind of put in there. You have DACA, which we'll definitely get to in a little bit. But just back to this Trump doing something that's not really seen as something he would do is that so
Hmm.
we talked about things how he's predicating on these results, he's not been able to get anything big done. And then on top of that, I've I watched the do you watch the Daily Show? Uh on YouTube or whatever, the
No,
clips.
I haven't watched it. No,
So I know I
I
just
haven't.
get
No, I haven't.
I watch the Daily Show just for just for laughing giggles, but they have sources. So when they do like a news story or whatever, they have like where they got the source. There was one source that said that I
Mm.
have to look back at the clip, but there's a source that said that Donald Trump did it because he was tired of the bickering back and forth and just made a deal for the heck of
Okay.
it. So yeah, so that's one of the things that's kind of one of the a part of that as well is one of the backlashes against that idea with that action was that you have a lot of now GOP leaders who are now upset with Donald Trump for making this deal and how it now complicates
Yeah.
the debt ceiling that will come back in 3 months. And I find that it's just so silly. Not silly, but it's both sides really. I think it's really come
Yeah.
out now since Donald Trump was elected, and especially during President Obama's presidency was this kind of fraction and this idea that you shouldn't cooperate with the other side because they're the other side and you shouldn't listen to them. And it kind of just shows that
Yeah.
this entire government system is built upon two sides working together or people coming together to do something to get done. And in our current climate, it's
Well, it
like that
wasn't
can.
supposed to be that way.
Well, I mean, it was
It
like
wasn't. It wasn't built to be that way
I know, but I mean,
necessarily.
yeah, I know what you're saying because it was built upon like things trying to be slow. So, because government's like a slow system, if things go
Yeah.
fast, then like it's a form of like what's it called, like dictatorship-ish kind of thing. But you still have to
Yeah. Well,
cooperate.
it's interesting. It's
Yeah, go.
a lot of other countries have. It's like, okay, some countries like, okay, that country's a two-party system, that one's a three-party system, that one's a five-party system.
Mhm.
And it's interesting. This past election, the third party's a lot more than usual.
Mhm.
And I've seen multiple articles that were talking about like, yeah, it looks like it might be like, probably not this next election, but it's kind of coming,
Mhm.
like the rise of a third party.
Mm. I get it.
And
I
it's
get
I'm
about
just
you.
curious to see how that goes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But interesting enough, like I think we've always kind of seen it like the this unwillingness to work with the other side. I think in this like in kind of like in that scene, you can kind of definitely really
Hmm.
see it. If you could not see it before, it's definitely visible now. And I was watching a Vice News program. It was a documentary that came
Hmm.
out like I think it was right when like this year. I think earlier this year. It was actually I think it was nominated for an award. I think it was an Academy Award or an Emmy. I forget which. But basically,
Hmm.
they talk about why the
Yeah.
split is even more wider than it is. I mean, why is the split wider now, especially in today's politics? And they're kind of tracing it back. And so when I
Mm.
was watching, when I was watching, what I kind of got from it was that when President Obama was first elected, it kind of like brought the country together because of course, you have the first black president. Hopefully he's gonna bring change in and all these different things. And supposedly it started
Hmm.
right when they were gonna do the because during that time you have the recession, the economy's down, and so they're trying to revitalize the economy. So President Obama, of course, has his
Hmm.
idea, and of course he wants to work together with the GOP, the Republicans, and supposedly
Yep.
from that time, like the Republicans were totally willing to work with him. Sorry, and but what happened is that when they came work together, the GOP wanted a lot of their things put into Obama's plan. And of course, Obama took some of the
Yeah.
things that they said, but for the Republicans, they felt that Obama wasn't listening to them. And so as things kind of went on, especially when you had Obamacare, where was it Medicare or Medicaid? I forget which. It's Medicare, right?
What you mean, Obamacare? It's the
Obamacare.
Affordable Care Act.
Yeah, Affordable
It's
Care.
it's not really it's not really either of those. Those are separate things.
Okay, okay, and I just want to make sure so I'm not wrong. So and then once you had that fight, it was like a huge big thing, and that's when you definitely saw this split and the divide. So you can definitely trace. It's interesting how you can kind of trace it back to then. But even then, I don't know if I can't say for like a historical reason or historical way, but I don't know if that was always the case between the two parties. I know that like politics back then, like we're talking like the late late 19th century, like early 20th century, like it get real, like people like shooting each
Hmm.
other and like beating each other up with sticks and stuff. So I think that do you think I have to look back on it, but I wonder if that like the divide's always been there. Um, or no, or is it
I
more?
think
Yeah, go.
I've, I don't know. Since we're not like 60, it's hard to like look back and be like, it was like this when we were younger. But it kind of seems like it seems like this goes in waves with politics where we have this thing where it's like, okay, yeah, we're on opposite sides, but we have to be cordial with each other. We have to be nice to be like, not nice, but civilized. We have to
Hmm.
act like, gentlemen. And then it goes away, and it's like, okay, yeah, I can just just throw them out at you
Hmm.
nonstop all the time. Don't have to listen to anything you say.
Hmm.
And it seems like it kind of goes in waves
Hmm.
throughout history. Where like, let's say, I don't know, 30 years ago, even though the parties were on opposite sides, it's like, okay, we can still work together. Actually, there had been this article I read where it was talking about how the number of congressmen who are it's like the people who are kind of in the middle, like not to the far left or the far right.
Hmm.
The number of people who are in the middle based on what they voted for
Uh-huh.
has completely disappeared.
Yeah.
It was comparing, I think, in the early 90s. It's like, yeah, it showed like this overlap of like, okay, this person was a Democrat, but they, voted yes on this many things that were considered on the right, and they voted no on this many that are considered on the left.
Hmm.
Therefore, they fall here
Yeah.
in the spectrum. And
Hmm.
it's like, yeah, so there were like, I don't know, 200 people in the middle, and now there's 12. It was something like that.
Hmm.
It was like, yeah, it's not just that the politics like in the media have been more extreme. It's like people who are elected have become more extreme on one side or the other.
Yeah. Especially when you have a president who kind of exemplifies that viewpoint of like this differentiating of like two distinct sides. It's kind of really brought
Yeah.
that out even more. Um, and it's crazy that now like with Trump, it's like he was seen as the guy who was going to fight for the right and especially the far right. And now he's like even attacking people who are like on the leaders of the right. And supposedly a lot of people have said that this is something that has not really been seen before of like a president who's attacking their own party for not doing things, which is partly funny.
Yeah,
Funny, yeah. What were you gonna say?
yeah, it's kind of weird because, the president, I think when Trump got elected, he thought that the presidency was similar to a dictatorship.
Yeah,
Because you remember before he got elected, he was saying like, "Oh yeah, president is like the easiest job in the world. Like you just tell people what to do." And then when he got elected, he tried to do that. He's like, "Yeah, go do this, go do that, go do
hmm,
that." And when it didn't work, he was like, "Why aren't you doing what I said? I'm the president. You have to do everything I say." And then
exactly.
everyone was like, "No, that's not how the government works.
Yep, yep.
It's you don't just get to tell everyone what to do."
You have to actually work with human
And
beings to try to get
so
deals done.
yeah, so in the past, it's like, okay, well, if I'm the same party as all these people, I need them on my side so that we can get the things I want done.
Hmm.
And then if I'm popular with the people when they're up for re-election, I can go and say, yeah, this is a good guy. He
Hmm.
works with me. We're getting stuff done.
Hmm.
And so it was mutually beneficial.
Hmm.
But since Trump became so unpopular, people who are up for re-election, like they have to defend themselves like, oh, I'm not really,
For Trump.
with Trump. I'm not part of Trump.
Yeah,
And so it's like even he doesn't have anything to offer them basically,
exactly.
because if he promotes them, you know, best case scenario it's kind of neutral, maybe helps a little bit. Worst case scenario, it drives people away.
Exactly.
It makes people not want to vote for him. It's like
Exactly.
getting, it's like having the KKK being like, yeah, this is a good person. It's like, oh, that's okay. No, you don't.
You
You
don't
don't
have
need to endorse me. That's
to.
okay. You can go away.
Exactly, exactly. So I just find it funny how like like people are surprised at this happening. To be fair, I'm like this guy's gonna do things that that's gonna not surprise you, but like are like against the grain, and that he's making excuses for
Hmm.
why things aren't happening. In reality, it falls with him. Like the funniest thing like I found was that when the new Medicare or the new anti Affordable Care Act plan was going to go into place.
Yeah,
He had
Republicare. Yeah,
Republic. Is that what it's called, Republicare? First, you've heard
that's
it for.
one of the names that people were trying to get.
Okay, I was like,
Some people were calling it Trump Care, but I thought that was stupid because he didn't actually do anything with it. I like Republicare. It
yeah,
flows
yeah,
better.
yeah. And it's funny how like It's funny how he blamed Republican leaders for not getting that thing passed, and like it was their fault. But in reality, a lot of it falls on him because he wasn't actually trying to do anything to promote it.
Yeah,
He
I'm saying
would,
he there was multiple stuff about that. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, like how he was out doing a speech or whatever somewhere in the country,
Hmm.
while everyone like the Congress was having this fight, and he could have gone there to try to get people to support it or whatever. And then he just like sends one tweet about it
Hmm.
and says, "Okay, this should be good enough to get it through." It's like, nope,
Yeah. Yeah,
absolutely.
or even worse, when he has all the drama going on and it distracts from the news. So instead of the
Hmm.
news being like, okay, yeah, so the people, the Republicans are trying to pass the thing, it's
Hmm.
like, okay, so Trump is doing this right now, and
It's almost
uh,
like they're kind of keep Trump away from doing things, so they can actually do something. I don't know. Do you think that this turn that he's making? Do you think that's a? I mean, I think it's a positive turn, right? It's positive.
I think it's completely random, and
Okay.
we'll have to see where it goes.
Mhm.
It's definitely positive. I think no matter what, it's positive because the Democrats are being extremely cautious about it.
Yeah.
So at the very least, hey, we got a couple of concessions
Mhm.
for a second. You know, I mean, and it could end up being a lot better than that. It could be, hey, he's starting to work with us for some reason, and we're not sure why, but hey, we're getting stuff done.
Mhm.
Or it could be, okay, we got a couple things done for, a week, and now he's going back over there. He's kind of wandering around.
Mhm. But I kind of like this idea that his presidency is kind of predicated on results, and of course his presidency has not seen any big results, if at any. I
Yeah.
think this is an attempt to try to get some results, and I think hopefully actually no, I can't say that. I was gonna say hopefully he recognizes it, but he's such an irrational person, or irrational from our point of view, that it's kind of hard to see if he's gonna see that point of view. Like if you actually work with other people, we can actually produce something, and people can actually look at it and see that it's being
Yeah.
made. But it's hard for me
It's
to even
not
say that.
strictly irrational. It's he's a self-declared crap, what is it? What is it? When you're full of yourself, when you do everything for yourself.
Egotistical, or like ego or whatever.
Something like that. I can't remember. He uses some certain word, and he's self-described as this, as like I do everything for myself,
Mm-hmm.
and he like says, yeah, it's something you have to get by in business, which sure, whatever, but so it's like everything he does, he does it because he thinks it will benefit him in some way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that's the rationale behind it. The problem is there's no like knowledge or experience or really that much intelligence behind it.
Yeah, I kind of
So
see
it's like he
that.
makes all these decisions and he's like, I think this will help me.
Mm-hmm.
He like even during rallies and things, he says what he thinks will get most people to cheer.
Exactly.
So um so if it's like, okay, I said this thing at this rally and it made everyone cheer for me, so I'm just gonna keep saying that.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it stops working, he's like, okay, I'm gonna say something else then.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of the rationale behind everything he does. So that's why at the beginning of his presidency,
Mm-hmm.
there were people that would come to him, like world leaders, who said, hey, this is a concern, blah blah blah. This is something the world is worried about. You should worry about this. He'd
Mm-hmm.
be like, oh, okay, if I do that thing, everyone will like me more, or I'll get some benefit out of it. And then the next person would come along and say, oh no, that's actually a bad thing. You should do this instead. So he kept doing, like, there were articles after articles saying, hey, he just met with this world leader and now Trump is doing the thing that that leader wants.
Mm-hmm.
And it kept happening. And he really doesn't have experience on the world stage. And it shows so much.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, you
It
can
really
definitely see.
does.
So hopefully, I mean, I want to see more interaction between these two parties because I think it's silly that you should be on. I think you should be grown up enough to try to come together and try to make something happen. And hopefully that's something that
Hmm.
if more of that happens, hopefully we'll see a lot more good things happen because especially on this idea of closing the government, and like that's a tactic to use to then push your agenda, is pretty shitty.
Yeah.
And like it was funny enough that
Hmm.
I went on the same Vice News documentary on this rift that was kind of created during Obama's presidency. They talked about the
Hmm.
current speaker at the time was Speaker Boehner, and this was
Okay.
the time of the rise of the Tea Party and all that stuff. And one of the things that these Tea Party people wanted to do was to then, of course, close the government as a way to force the Democrats or force whatever their laws they're trying to do. And it's funny because
Yeah.
even Speaker Banner himself, like, are you retarded? Are you not? Are you stupid that you want to basically shut the government down? Like this is totally gonna backfire on us. And of course, the government shuts
Yes.
down, and everyone's all like the Republicans are making me lose my job. And like he's like, are you guys surprised that this happened? That it was gonna work? So I find that silly that they still think that shutting the government down will be a positive thing. It was like, no, you're just gonna have bad press about you guys are not willing to do your guys' job, so you guys are just willing to shut the government down essentially.
Yeah, that's like, well, I mean, the thing is, that's, the ideal. That's what you hope is going to happen. But it seems like the reality of it is the government shuts down, and then Fox News and all the Republicans say, "Oh my God, the Democrats, they didn't do everything we wanted, so we had to shut the government down. It's their fault the government shut down."
Hmm.
Because that's what happened when the Republicans shut down the government. They started blaming the Democrats. They would like go down, they would go to the closed down parks and be like, "No, let the people into the parks." The government, even though the government shut down, it was like these congressmen who are responsible for the government shutting
Hmm.
down,
Hmm.
and they blame it all on the Democrats, and the brainwashed parts of the country just eat it up. They're like, "Oh my God, I heard it on the news. It's the Democrats' fault."
But to be fair,
And
that
that, I mean,
hmm yeah, go
no, go
continue.
ahead.
I was gonna say, but those brainwashed people that you speak about, they're already kind of like it doesn't really matter what's being said. It's on Fox News or whatever, wherever they find the news, but they're gonna be listening to
Mm-hmm.
those
Sorry,
points of view anyways. So, but in reality, like if you look at most of the country, like during that time, a lot of people were really upset with the Republicans for taking that
yeah,
stance because you're basically there's people who work for the government. There's people who are not gonna have
mm-hmm.
not getting paid because the government's not paying them or shut down. So he got a lot of flack for that,
Yeah,
and of course Banner's like, okay, I'm gonna have to stop this silliness and bring the
yeah.
government and make a deal or whatever. So hopefully, I mean,
You're right. You're right. The majority of the country's sane.
yeah. So hopefully, I mean, I hope that this is one part of like rationale that Trump understands and hopefully continues forward. And it'll be surprising if it becomes a trend. I'll be extremely surprised.
Yeah, I mean, it would be. That's the thing with Trump. He's so unpredictable that like, even when he first got elected, I was like, well, who knows? Maybe he'll like suddenly become the best president ever, like on accident, and he'll do all these great things, like just because he feels like it, because he has the power to. He really does.
Mm-hmm. And
Um,
yeah.
but of course that didn't happen. He's too stupid. He does all these things that he thinks will benefit him, and then it doesn't benefit him, and then he cries about it, and then he moves on.
And then also on that note, I think he's the type of person who really doesn't give like a crap about anything. Like he gives a crap, but like he gives a crap for the wrong things essentially. You know what I'm trying to say? Does that make sense?
I mean, honestly, I don't think he cares about anything really.
Yeah.
He just wants to be able to relax and enjoy the money that he's had his entire life.
Mhm.
I mean, he's lost a third of his wealth
Mhm.
throughout his lifetime, and he's a multi-billionaire, so losing a third of his wealth didn't mean anything.
Mhm.
He just keeps buying things, then he starts businesses, the businesses fail and he loses hundreds of millions of dollars, then he doesn't pay people, and then he moves on with his life. It's what he's done his entire life, and
Mhm.
now he's trying to do that with the government, and it's like, hey, it's not working.
Yeah. And then
So
also,
yeah, he doesn't
yeah.
really care about anything.
So that's
Go
something
ahead.
that's it's positive. I mean, he could be the person who could do that because he doesn't care about anything. So if he doesn't care about anything, hopefully that's like he can actually work with people because because there's been like people if you're like a Republican senator or whatever, or like let's say like
Hmm.
Speaker of the House Ryan, it's kind of like he's playing these like he's trying to play to like the this very far right people like the Tea Party, and the kind of people who are a lot more
Yeah.
moderate. And so he's trying to play both sides. He can't really make this. It's hard for him to actually do something. And you definitely saw this with
Hmm.
we'll call it Republican care because I don't know what the official name was called. Uh, s-
Republican.
yeah, something like that. You can kind of see that there's like this split within the party itself that it can't even function. Like they can't even get people to like they can't even get their own party to rally behind something because of this really big,
Hmm.
large like as dissect of the party. So hopefully Trump can be that person who really doesn't care about anybody to do the right thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's my thing. That's my kind of
I
idea
mean,
of
the
it.
problem is he's so
Yeah,
malleable. He
yeah.
listens to everyone around him,
Mhm.
and everyone around him. I mean, that's why there was so much turmoil inside of the White House. It was like there were factions inside the White House that
Mhm.
never happens. There were factions inside the White House fighting each other.
Mhm.
And then when that what was it that last chief of staff that came in, the ex-Marine guy, when he first came in, I was like, whoa, it looks like he's gonna get everything together,
Mhm.
and then it didn't happen, and I was like just a little surprised
Mhm.
because it's the first week when he was there, it seemed like everything was coming together,
Mhm.
but then Trump decided to be Trump. He decided to like just he likes to just like make it up as he goes,
Yeah.
and the chief of staff is literally standing next to him, and he's just like, I can't control this guy. I can't.
No one can control Trump except for Trump. And then we kind of spoke a little bit of it.
Yeah.
DACA, right? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, I just call it the DACA. I'm not sure if it's an initialism or if it's an acronym. So either way,
For some silly reason, I wrote DACA as DACHA. I don't know if that's correct. It doesn't seem correct. I don't know.
it's not correct.
Yeah, it's like my H. It's like my H turned into a C. I don't know why. It's ridiculous. But this is something that I think is really kind of it kind of hits close to home in a sense for this one
Oh,
because
I could see how you might add an H.
yeah,
Okay, because it's
yeah.
deferred action for childhood arrivals.
Mhm.
Maybe that's why you thought there was an H. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, because I've known a lot of people who are kind of like in that predicament, or who people who have been in that
Hmm.
predicament where they've come to this country for one reason or the other, not in the best way, and they're kind of like stuck here in a sense. Not
Yeah.
stuck here, but like this is kind of like their homes or whatever, and they might not have the legal status to be, to enjoy the rights in the country, and especially
Hmm.
in what's it called? In I took a anthropology class my first year at Davis. It was called migrations, anthropology and
Hmm.
migration, and we really and for one of the what's it called? One of the sections of the class, we really talked about that type of immigration, about how people who live in this country who are like totally awesome citizens, but they can't participate within some of the things that we can participate in because they don't have the legal status to do it. And it's really sad because
Yeah.
it kind of screws them over because they can be really awesome people, awesome citizens, but they go through so many troubles. Like they can't find a job because they don't have like a social security number, or they don't have like a an ID, or driver's license or whatever to be able to work.
Hmm.
And so, some people come out of college or whatever, and they can't. There's no work for them because, of course, they don't have the legal documents. And this was kind of like this thing that was supposed to like really help them out and hopefully, bring more awesome people into the country. Because
Yeah.
if you look at what DACA says is that there's only not everybody can do it. I think it's only people under the age of 30, I believe, right? Am I correct?
Yeah. So the thing it's meant for is it's meant for if you were born
Mm-hmm.
in America and you lived here.
Well, wait,
I
no,
think it's a
wait.
certain portion of your life,
Not
but like
not
the
not
entirety of your life.
not born in America
Oh,
because
sorry,
you're
not born here. I'm sorry.
yes.
That was yeah. Then you're automatically a citizen. Sorry, if you're brought here as a very small child,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I didn't. Yeah, not born here. If you're brought here as a very small child and you've lived here like your whole life,
Mhm.
and then they send you back to a country where you've literally never been there, or
Mhm.
you might not even speak the language, things like
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
And yeah, and it provides them with visas basically, with work visas, with paths to citizenship, and with uh, things that allow them to actually go to college
Mhm.
since
And
they're here
and then
kind of illegally.
yeah, yeah. So it's kind of like it doesn't really solve the problem, but it definitely helps the problem. You know what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
there's still people who are coming here legally, and it's definitely not you don't get full rights as a citizen, but you get kind of things that will definitely benefit you if you live if you come if your family came here and you kind of came here with them. And it's a lot of these people like
Yeah.
this is the United States is their home. Like if they were to go back to Mexico, some of them are like they don't even know, or Mexico or any other Latin American country or wherever they came from, like they wouldn't really know that as home because they probably haven't lived in that former country for a very long time. So we kind of sending them back to like
Yeah, I
some
actually had a
foreign.
friend
Yeah.
in I had a friend in middle school and high school who his parents came here illegally with him when
Yeah.
he was like 3 or 4.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was weird because I didn't know about it. And then one time he's like, yeah, I'm gonna become a citizen in a few months. This was like in, I don't know, like ninth grade or something.
Mhm.
And everyone was like, oh, well, that's weird, cool, good for you. That's strange, but cool, good for you.
Mhm.
It was just, we didn't really realize he wasn't from here because he lived
Yeah.
here basically his entire life. His main language was English, and
Mhm.
he was able to speak Spanish because his parents, I think, only spoke Spanish.
Yeah.
But it was just, it's people like that where it's like, okay, they've lived here more than 90% of their life.
Mhm. So yeah,
They
it's
don't know anything about their home country.
so yeah, it's kind of for them it would be kind of like it'd be sending you kind of like away from your home. And so what the current provision with DACA being replaced, well not replaced, it's being shut down,
It's
but it's
it's being put on hold.
yeah, yeah. So with what I don't know specifics. I'm gonna try to look it up really quickly. But pretty much
uh,
if you're in the program already, like you're good to like 2022, I think, right? I'm trying to look at it right now.
you're good. No, it's anyone who currently has a permit is allowed to renew their permit. Each permit usually lasts about 2 years. They're allowed to renew it by October.
Mhm.
Meaning if they renew it like then they get to stay here an extra 2 years, and
Uh,
that's it.
hold on. I'm trying to look at. It says yeah, no current DACA recipients will be affected by a decision before March 5th, 2018, but no new applicants will be taken. Says da da da. So pretty much it says about 1,000 DACA recipients will lose their job each day until 2018. It says an estimated 10,000 students across 11 states would lose their teachers if DACA was canceled. Da da da. It doesn't. I'm trying to look for something. Okay, never
Do
mind.
you want me to read you the relevant sentence? Because
Yeah, I was looking for.
Mr. Trump's plan would allow those who have current work permits to stay for up to 2 years,
Yeah, but they're not gonna
but it
take any
would bar
more.
companies from renewing those permits. Yep,
Okay,
or
so
issuing new ones.
yeah, and so pretty much they're gonna have people who are in the program are good until 2 years, right? And then
Yeah,
they're
2 years.
they'll lose everything that they had, all their not their all the government like documents or that they had to stay here, and they'll just become illegal
Yeah,
again,
they
right?
they lose all their yeah.
Yeah. And so
Hmm.
what Trump has done, put he's put the ball back in the Senate and the Congress to hopefully come up with a new
Yeah,
legal thing to replace DACA because they didn't think it was legal or whatever. But it's just like okay, that is totally not going to end well.
yeah. It's interesting. The day it was announced, I was sitting in that big tall apartment building in Tribeca,
in your ivory tower.
and it's yep, basically. Well, it was red. It was a red. No, but it's located right next to a bunch of federal buildings. It's actually located right next to City Hall. Like
Mhm.
it's like a block and a half away from City Hall.
Mhm.
And there was a big I don't know what to call it, protest or a rally.
Mhm.
And because suddenly I could hear chanting and yelling and stuff.
Mhm.
I was like, "Whoa, what's that?" And I opened a window and I'm like, "Oh, it's coming from it's coming from the City Hall subway station."
Mhm.
And yeah, there were God, I don't know, there's probably like 200 people just
Mhm.
gathered there. It was in front of the courthouse,
Mhm.
um, gathered out there having a rally. And I was like, whoa,
Mhm.
it's crazy.
I was gonna say something else on it. Oh, so pretty much he's pretty much given, like I just said there. So pretty much now Congress is gonna have to come up with a new bill, and it's almost like if they can't even come together on something that is not simple but has like very charged as like Medicare, universal Medicare
Hmm.
or something that's gonna like something similar to that. It's almost like how are they gonna come to
Yeah.
terms with this? You know what I'm saying? Like I mean,
Yeah.
it's even more of like a diverse issue because people have even more charged opinions of it because especially in southern states who border, they kind of are they kind not deal with it, but they come into contact with that every single day, and even they have problems with like how to deal with
Hmm.
those type of situations. So it's like I don't even know how it's like it's it's a messed up situation, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, well, like as Trump put it, who knew healthcare could be so complicated?
Oh my God, this thing.
um, yeah. And God, I mean, it's gonna be even, yeah, it's, like you said, it's gonna be even worse for the immigration stuff. There are already a couple of bills
Yeah.
being proposed. One of them is like, hey, let's just take that, giant complicated, DACA thing that we already have and let's just extend it. Like, let's
Exactly.
just let it keep going.
Exactly.
It's probably the easiest solution.
Mhm.
I don't know. It seems like Trump, because he has no experience with anything political at all.
Mhm.
He's like, okay, I'm supposed to get something done with immigration.
Mhm.
I'm going to just strip everything and then tell Congress to deal with it. Like that seems to be his solution. Same with the
Mhm.
healthcare thing. Is like just get rid of it
Mhm.
and then figure something out. Like I don't want anything to do with it. You guys figure it out.
Mhm.
And I mean, I'm guessing he's gonna do the same thing with tax stuff. Because I remember I was early in his presidency, he like released a tax document like outlining the stuff he wanted to do,
Mhm.
and it was one page,
Mhm.
double spaced, one sided, and most of it just said like, yeah, I'm gonna get rid of the tax some of the taxes that exist,
Mhm.
and that was it. That was his proposal.
Mhm.
It's like that's not how proposals work. You're supposed to actually tell us what you want to do.
And then also,
Like,
yeah,
oh my god.
and also this
Oh.
on this thing of immigration, how like there's some like situation with it or whatever. Um, I just find that
Hmm.
like this kind of funny how like I don't know what they want to like. What do you want to do with immigration? Like, what is the thing that people want to do with it? Do they want to like stop illegal immigrants from coming because what you're going to try to build a wall and then try and make it harder for people to come in this country as citizens, like that's wholly not going to solve the
Hmm.
problem. You're still going to have if even you're going to have even more illegal immigrants come to the country because like it's especially I don't know if you know this, but becoming a U.S. citizen is extremely difficult. Like it's a very long process, and the chances you're gonna
I'm
get
aware.
is gonna be very difficult. And well, just a kind of part of that as well. I know because I'm in the soccer kind of like verse or whatever. I know a lot of people
Hmm.
who play in the U.S. who are from like Latin American countries, and some people who could play for the United States
Hmm.
who are really good players, but they can't play at a part of the United States national team because they can't get their visas, they can't get their things become a citizen to then come
Hmm.
play in the country, and they talk about the reason why is because it's so hard to become a citizen, and even like because when my grandparents came, when my mother and father came, it was a lot easier to become a citizen. It was like in the 70s and 60s and all that stuff. But
Mm.
now it's like extremely difficult. So now when you have people coming, of course they're gonna come here because you have better work, better living conditions, especially where they're coming from. A lot of places they're coming from is crime and other things of that nature, and they see the United States as this way to kind
Hmm.
of build up those things. And it doesn't help
Yeah.
that the places that they live in. I'll give you a good example, like in because we talked about in the migration class, we talked about we talked about Mexico, of course, and Latin American countries. But the one thing we kind of talked about was Haiti. If you guys don't know,
Okay.
Haiti's right next to the Dominican Republic, so it's right in the Caribbean. And so
South of Florida.
south of Florida, yeah.
For people who really don't know geography.
There's a funny thing we can talk about that on that later. But for Haiti, that's for a professor. I don't know his first name. His name's Khan. But if you have his migration class, take it. It's pretty awesome. So pretty much with Haiti, we all know it's very a poverty-stricken country,
Hmm.
and so pretty much what the United States tried to do this was in the 90s, so it would have been Clinton, I think. I think it was Clinton. So pretty
Okay.
much what they wanted to do was basically they wanted to then revitalize their economy so they can
Okay.
basically if you revitalize the economy, there's no poverty and they don't have to come to the United States anymore. But the problem was is that like they were pretty much screwing over the uh, the agricultural sector of their economy, which is like which
Mm.
made up a lot of their I guess their economy or whatever, and basically they're doing that to benefit
Mm-hmm.
American farmers so they can buy American goods instead of Haiti goods to sell to Haiti to use in Haiti. So essentially,
Okay.
when they're
Hmm.
trying to revitalize this economy and try to make it more industrialized, and the government was already kind of corrupt and wasn't already working well, and then part of that was the agricultural sector of their economy being screwed over even more, that actually drove more people to come to the United States because their country was even more poverty stricken. So you have these kind of deals by the United States that are kind of like inhibiting this poverty. It's not. I think they're trying to play like these two games or whatever. Like this game of like we're trying to produce. We're trying to make American economy even more stronger or whatever, and trying to screw over the people so they can have to buy our goods and essentially for a higher price.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're kind of playing these two games, and it's like you can't play two games and think you're gonna win everything. You're gonna lose in one of the games essentially. And so you have a lot of these little gamesmanship things being played all over the world, and people are surprised that these things are happening. Like it's very very silly. So I don't know how what when I see the immigration problem, it's like what are you actually going to try to solve the larger problem, or are you just putting a band-aid on it and hopefully it doesn't bleed as much. That's my
Well, it
that's
depends
my
on the
yeah
person. I mean,
yeah
some people are just like, well, let's just ban all immigration,
hmm
and some people are like, well, let's just ban all immigration from the South and from the Middle East.
yeah definitely
Like, we don't want any Mexicans or South Americans. We don't want none of them Muslim peoples. And
yeah
they attack Sikhs in the
hmm
street, and it's like, oh no,
they're not
oh no,
Muslims.
you don't know what you're doing. um, and then you have people that are like, well, look, we just don't want the illegal immigrants here. We want everyone to be here legally. We want to have you documented so that we can tax you, so that you're not, messing up the country.
hmm
And then you have people who are like, we want to be completely open. We want to just let everyone in.
hmm
Um, if you come here legally, great. If you came here illegally, let's make you legal.
hmm
And there's problems to all of these problems to all of these approaches, and you need to
hmm
find something sort of, it's an extremely complicated thing.
exactly
It's
exactly
And the problem is we're such a big country that it's like, well, okay, maybe something that works in California, where most of the people who are immigrating are coming from Asia, Eastern Asia,
hmm
Eastern Asia and Southeastern Asia. You know, the policies that'll work for people immigrating from there, it won't work for like uh, southeastern Texas, wherever, like, or for just, let's say, all of South Texas,
hmm
where you're on the border of Mexico and you have people just like crossing the desert and hopping over a fence, or not even, there's no fence there sometimes,
hmm
and just walking into the country. And you might need different policies for that.
hmm
Doesn't mean you should go overboard. I mean, the stupid wall thing is a terrible idea for numerous reasons:
hmm
financial reasons, for agricultural reasons, for environmental reasons,
ecology
for
reasons yeah
socioeconomic reasons.
yeah
Yeah,
yeah
it's stupid for a lot of reasons.
hmm
Um, but it solves a couple of very specific problems,
hmm
and people kind of only look at some problems.
hmm
I mean, and then there's, I don't know, that's the problem. We're such a big country.
hmm
It's almost like maybe immigration should be controlled by the states. That would be, I mean, it would be better because the policies could be more individualized, but it'd be worse because, once someone gets into one state, they can easily just travel to another state.
Yeah,
So
exactly. That yeah. You bring
it's
you bring up a lot
it's
of
hard.
yeah. You bring up a lot of good issues, and I think it's funny because like in the anthropology courses I've been taking, a lot of people have been
Hmm.
trying to like a lot of people have been looking at this interesting thing of like how this idea of like this illegal immigration, kind of especially from Mexico or excuse me from Latin American
Hmm.
countries, to the United States or like in Europe you have like goddamn Verby. So you have a lot of people from like I have a globe right here. You have a lot of people coming from like North Africa and the Middle East coming to Europe illegally and all those things, especially from Syria, and tackling
Hmm.
and looking at the problem like why is this occurring? And it's extremely it's almost like Like on the outset, these borders that we have are like totally imaginary. Like these lines that we create are like not natural geographic borders or whatever. They're pretty much like just like a line in the sand essentially that we've said, okay, this is the difference between you and me. And now, especially nowadays, it's becoming a lot more because I bet you before, like it was easier, way easier for you to come to the country. Of course, you wouldn't be liked, but it's like, yeah, you can come in and like kind of do whatever you want. Yeah, here's your citizenship. We really don't care or whatever. But now these borders have
Mm-hmm.
become extremely more hardened. More like this is you, this is me. You got to have the right papers. All these different things. And it's kind of, especially the nation state has been kind of creating this kind of outlook and creating these divides, while also on the same sense our world's becoming a lot more interconnected with the internet and other different forms of communication and other different forms of transportation and trade. So it's kind of, and
Mm-hmm.
one of the things, I don't know the author's name. I'll probably link her in the YouTube description. Um, oh, I forget her name. I'll have to look it up later. But she looks at like this idea of borders and global commerce, and one of the things she states is that
Mm-hmm.
the reason why borders have become more like more secure and all these different things is because the nation state kind of feels like it's losing its power to control things, and the one thing they can't control is
Mm.
the people who move into their country. I'll probably try to link the quote in it, but that's one of the things we talked about in the in a lot of our classes of this nation state being more and more hardened and more, like, okay, we have to really control people who are coming in because we feel like we're losing control in a sense. We're losing control of who we are and our idea to control things. So hopefully,
Mm-hmm.
and especially when you have like this difference in like poverty, which we call the global south, like we call like in South America and like Africa, or maybe some places in Southeast Asia, of like these places who are even more like poverty stricken because of like post-colonial things that are going on. One good example I can probably provide is like so this is not this or this is from my class from the summer. She's working with a professor who works in like the Congo, I think it is. And so one of the things that the professor talks, I want to read the book actually. It seems really interesting. But he talks about how like how what's it called? People who are in Silicon Valley, they make Facebook and like all these different tech companies, or Apple,
Mm-hmm.
for example, how they're supposedly the people who are like the enlightened people who are going to kind of like make the world better because of technology and all these things. But funny enough,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of like the material that's used to make those processors and all those different things come from the Congo, and the people are paid terribly. They work terrible hours, not in the best conditions. So it's kind of like this weird little thing that's kind of going on. How you have people working in shitty conditions, and these people in Europe and the United States think they're doing all these good things, and a lot of things that allow them to do these things is built upon the backs of people who are put in those conditions, like in the Congo or like in the sweatshops in China, all these
Yeah.
different things. It's just kind of really interesting.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. The only thing I don't really subscribe to the whole the borders are just imaginary lines in the sand. I feel like there's cultural historical reasons why they are the way they are.
I mean,
Um,
yeah. I mean, like it's not like a river. When I mean like a physical like thing or like a when I say natural, like it's like something that's inherent, like the border that we have in like you're saying it's built upon social things that have happened in history. It's built upon like a social construct essentially. Which is that what you're saying, right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's that. I mean, I totally agree with that.
Mm,
But they're not like natural
mm,
set things, which I hope you use the
true.
correct words. But yeah, they are predicated upon things that have occurred in history over time. Definitely, I definitely agree with that. So
Mm,
I guess my thing is like, what is the solution? Is like there, yeah. I mean, like there's little band aids or whatever that you can do, but are you totally gonna solve? You can solve the immigration problem, but are you willing to solve it? And I don't think no one's willing to solve the problem.
yeah.
And it's weird for us,
Yeah, I
but
think it just
yeah,
depends on
go.
what you consider the problem to be, because
Hmm.
different people are like, well, this is the problem. Well, no, this is the problem, and then
Hmm.
you know, if you can't even agree on what the problem is, you're not going to agree on a solution.
So that's my thing where it's just like, yeah, I don't see that. It's gonna and it's weird for me because I people are kind of like, well, the people that the laborers who do those things allow us to buy these cheap products or the computer or whatever. Like the reason why we can live the life
Hmm.
we live is because of these things. It kind of puts you like in an awkward position of like,
Yeah.
it's almost like there's got to be losers and winners almost. Sadly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's the thing with I don't know. Yeah, it's there's so many problems in the world. So
Yeah.
many different problems, so many different scales of these different problems.
Mhm.
And it's like, you can only worry about so much.
Mhm.
And it's like it's hard to, unless you're a multi-billionaire or more. If you were a modern day Rockefeller,
Mhm.
there's no way you can go solve every single problem
No.
in the world.
Mhm.
And I mean, you know, like let's say, if you're worried about silicon being harvested in countries where people are being basically used as slaves,
Mhm.
how do you solve that? I mean, you could go try to overthrow the government,
Mhm.
or you could just never buy anything with silicon in it.
Mhm.
But those aren't really practical solutions. If you just stop buying silicon, well, that's literally not going to do anything at all.
Mhm.
No one's going to care. No one's, you're not even going to be able to tell anyone because you can't use a phone, can't use a computer.
You know what I think will solve our
So
problems?
it's
Robots.
what?
Robots. We can use robots instead of humans.
Yeah, I mean, they're either going to solve the problem or make it worse. It's going to be, next couple decades is going to be interesting. We're going to see which way it goes.
Exactly. But no,
It's either
continue.
going to be like, well, yeah, I mean, it's going to be either going to be everyone is oppressed except for the elite, or hey, let's become Star Trek.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see if we become, post scarcity, or if we're just going to become absolute dystopia.
Yeah. So no, it's really interesting. It's a really interesting conversation to have, but I don't know if there's ever going to be an answer for it, or are we all just.
Oh, I mean, like I said, the answer to that's going to be in the next few decades. Well, maybe not next few. Let's say the next century, we'll find out what we're going to become.
Mhm.
Either Elon Musk will prevail and we'll become a multiplanetary species, and maybe we'll become like a centralized hegemony of like a worldwide government,
Yeah, I got you.
or it'll become like an oligarchy, and it's like, well, you don't have any money because you don't have a job because there aren't any jobs.
Mhm.
You know, good luck.
Yeah.
So it'll be
Or
interesting.
yeah, it should be really interesting. But yeah, like that's one of the things I kind of think about when it comes to immigration. Like these little games are being played, and like it's kind of causing these
Yeah.
situations to erupt. Like we're kind of this thing that we're gonna talk about right now is gonna connect to the next scene, but Syria is like another good example of how like the solution. It's not the solution that we can do will not easily solve the problem, but it'll definitely make the problem less worse. But when you like in Syria, you have like the United States and Russia who are trying to play both sides, and then you have of course ISIS who are there as well, who's kind of like been created out of the problem the United States pretty much did by invading Iraq. And the problem can easily be
Mm-hmm.
not easily be solved, but it's a lot better solution. But instead, you have the U.S. Russia are playing these little games of like they're back in the colonial times or like back in the Cold War times where they're trying to put both of their people in power, and it's the people are suffering because of it because these little games are being played to control Syria and be a big
Mm-hmm.
player in the Middle East, especially with oil and all those things. So, upon that as well, we have North Korea as well, who tested a
Mm-hmm.
supposedly tested a thermonuclear warhead, which is like way I don't know the 10 times more powerful. It's a lot more powerful than the nuclear weapons that were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
It's much more powerful.
Yeah, and it's I don't know I don't really know the specifics, but it's basically more and more powerful. And the way the way they figured they found out
it's,
was
it's fission. It's fission versus fusion. It's different types of physics, basically.
yeah, yeah. So but they found out on I think it was I was in LA on that day, but I think it was
Hmm.
Saturday night, yeah. Saturday night or Saturday night Pacific time, excuse me. Was that they found another earthquake had hit North Korea and they found that it was
Oh
probably
yeah,
a
it's
nuclear
from
weapon.
China. It's like Yeah, China announced that there was an earthquake in North Korea, and then all of the U.S. articles are basically like earthquake in quotes detected by China
Hmm.
coming out of North Korea because everyone knew it was a bomb. Everyone knew it wasn't an earthquake.
Hmm. And they felt that.
And then South Korea's like, "Yep, found the radiation."
Yeah, yeah,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
so so yeah, it was definitely found out that they said it was a lot more stronger of an earthquake, and they think it is a, or they don't know, they just knew it was an
Yeah,
earthquake.
they think it's no, yeah, they after looking at it, they're like, okay, yeah, we thought it was this strong. It looks like it's actually stronger. It looks like it may have been they're like decently sure
Hmm.
it's a thermonuclear bomb instead of just nuclear.
So there's two things with that. You have people who are like, okay, this thing definitely makes the game a lot more interesting. But they're not sure if
Hmm.
they've actually are able to put the device on a ballistic missile to then attack the United States or any other country from a long distance. Um,
Yeah, so creating the explosion is one thing, but being able to deliver it is the main problem that faced Korea,
mhm.
North Korea.
So
And
with
they have pictures of the bomb. They're like, see, look, we have it.
it's
And
funny because
everyone's like, maybe.
I was looking at the BBC article, and they're talking about how they're not sure if it was actually plastic or a real thing.
Yeah, they're like, we're not sure if it's stuffed with styrofoam or if it's actually metal and like bomb components. We're really not sure.
Yeah. So now Trump's finding out, and a bunch of other leaders are like, how do we actually solve this North Korea problem now that they probably have a very large nuclear weapon that can do a lot more damage?
Hmm.
And you even have Russia who's saying that that what's it called, economic what do you call what's it called when you put a
Sanctions.
yeah, sanctions, there we go.
Sanction.
The sanctions would not work on North Korea because according to Putin, North Koreans would rather eat grass. And I can definitely see how.
Interest.
And it's funny because from China's perspective, they're not willing to stop economic exports to the north because of they're afraid that that could lead to a collapse, and that once that collapse happens, you're going to have a lot of refugees go into China, especially
Hmm.
the place that borders it, and even South Korea as well. They're kind of afraid of it because then you're going to have a lot of people from North Korea coming to South Korea, and that will kind of make things a lot more difficult for them. And then plus now you have this
Yeah, well, I
chance.
mean,
Yeah, go.
it seemed like that was one of the reasons why, no one ever went in and destroyed all of North Korea, is because they're like, well, then we would have an entire country worth of refugees, and they're brainwashed, and we don't want to deal with that.
Hmm.
Seemed to be kind of the consensus for several decades.
Especially China doesn't really want another United States um, ally in the area when they're already surrounded by many.
Yeah.
So they really want. It's almost like you have that. It's almost like I'm trying to make it like an analogy, but it's almost like you have that friend who's like not really a good friend or whatever, and he just like creates more problems than actually helps you. But for some reason, you kind of have to keep him around because you have like no friends almost. It's just like, that must suck.
That's
Um,
kind of, yeah, it's an interesting description.
I'm not
Yeah, I
sure.
mean, it's basically, South Korea is strongly allied with the US, and so is Japan.
Mhm.
And China in their weird, you know, I don't, what form of government are they even right now? I always
Intentionally,
forget.
they're a communist state, but it's weird because they have these special economic zones like Shanghai or
Hmm,
other places. They're pretty much like a little capitalist society there. But the thing is that only certain people,
interest.
like, you have to have a passport from like to go there and live there. So it's kind of cordoned
Hmm,
off. But yeah, it is a communist nation though. Um,
gotcha. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so I don't know, it's really interesting because I'm curious what would happen if a war did break out with North Korea. I think it depends what China does. If China decides like, no, we want to keep these people alive and attacks the U.S., and
well,
then what would Russia do? And
yeah, yeah.
eh,
I think it'd be really well. A lot of people understand if a war was to come to North Korea and the U.S. would probably win, but it would definitely cause lots of civilian casualties, or especially in Seoul, because In North Korea, they have
Yes.
like in bunkers, especially around the DMZ, they have lots of
Hmm.
artillery pieces that can come out and actually
Yes.
hit like a very uh, urban center like Seoul. And so, but the U.S. planes will
Well,
probably
yeah,
yeah
Seoul
go
is right on the border,
yeah.
so Seoul is right on the border. So yeah, they basically the second war breaks out, they're just gonna bombard the city,
hmm
and
And
there's not really anything we can do about it.
And so pretty much they're
Go.
saying that the war will probably they're saying that a lot of military leaders are saying that South Korea probably has enough military supplies or enough supplies to fight a war for 2 weeks, and then and they have a lot of soldiers and they probably take a lot of casualties. But once like the 2 weeks goes away or once they start to lose run out of supplies, they're gonna have to rely on like looking on the ground for supplies. They're saying that they'll probably the North Korean force will probably like start to disintegrate once their supplies start to go down and once U.S. military power comes into
Hmm.
the area. But they're saying that if it looks like the North Koreans are going to lose, then a lot of military leaders are saying they would not be surprised if decide to use their nuclear weapons. So
Yeah,
it makes
yeah,
sense.
they would just go out with a bang. They're like, "Yep, we're gonna die. Let's just like kill as much as we can."
hmm
It's yeah, I mean that's the thing. North Korea is, it's a small, weak country. Especially compared to the U.S. I mean, if we wanted to, we could easily just go destroy the country, but there would be extreme consequences of it.
it's like
And it depends
yeah.
what, like I said, depends what China wants to do. If they just sit aside and they're like, screw it, we can't do anything about it, then great. If they're like, no, we want to take on the U.S., then that would be bad. I mean, if we had to fight a war against China,
hmm
they've stolen a lot of technology from us. They're not on par with us, but they're pretty damn close.
hmm It's almost
And
like
they outnumber us
yeah.
greatly.
I was gonna say it's almost like Albania from like the 16th century, but with nukes from the 15th century. EU4 reference there. For any of you got that.
Yeah,
But yeah, no,
yeah,
it definitely be a very catastrophic event for a lot of people there. So I definitely think it's not something that a lot of people want to happen. Um, because especially the South Koreans don't want that because they're right there living there, and we also have a lot of U.S. personnel
yeah,
living there as well. So it would be catastrophic for a lot of people. And it would, like you were saying, it would be interesting what China and Russia decide to do. Would they wait idly by, or they just kind of let it go because they feel that having a U.S. as a trade partner or for China, from China's point of view, that it would be better for them to lose an ally and hopefully keep a trading partner. So all really good, interesting
yeah,
theories of what would happen. But
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm curious what like North Korea is thinking.
hmm
Like, is their end goal like, okay, let's just get let's get a nuclear weapon, and then what? I mean, Kim Jong Un runs the whole country,
hmm
so why doesn't he? And he's very wealthy. Why doesn't he just chill
yeah,
and just like enjoy his life and do nothing?
because many people have said that like they're paranoid of like what could happen. So they want like insurances that their power will not go away. So they feel that having a nuclear weapon will kind of keep that the status quo essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but it does it
Okay.
does it does make them more of a target though because now they have nukes. So now if you didn't have attention before, now you do. And it's almost like, do you want that attention?
Yeah. Well, they do want the attention. They want
Oh
they
yeah, of
want the whole
course.
world to look at them and then give them stuff.
Exactly.
That's what they've done for decades,
Yep.
and it's not
Yep.
working as much anymore.
Yep. Yep. Definitely. So no things. So this week was extremely interesting. Lots of news and
Mainly storms.
mainly
There's like three storms in the Atlantic right now,
yeah, they
getting
have
ready to hit.
it's like Jose, I think, and I don't know what the other one's called.
Yeah, Jose is the one that's far out. There's Irma is the one that's currently like hitting stuff, and then there's dang it, I
I don't know.
don't remember what it's called.
The
Um,
storm number two.
the one
Calls
that's in Mexico right now. What is it?
so it's a K, doesn't it? forget.
It, man, I can't believe I'm forgetting its name.
Whatever, it's somewhere. It's somewhere there.
It's something.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
Katya.
there we go. I was like, it started with a K. I knew it started with a K. Yeah. So yeah,
Hmm.
lots of things going on. Um. So yeah, this week was extremely
A
interesting.
lot of the same.
A lot of the same. That's the
Yeah.
thing with news is that I feel that not a lot happens. If something's gonna happen, it takes a long time for it to progress. For results to occur. To actually see what the event,
Hmm.
what the actual results are. But yeah, a lot of things are developing, and hopefully they don't become. Hopefully things all turn out good, and the world's not ending. Especially like when you have like all these hurricanes, and you have also a very large earthquake in Mexico as well. I know thoughts and prayers goes out to my homies down there.
Your
So
homies in Mexico.
all my homies.
Do you even have anyone down in Mexico?
I do actually, but do I know any of them? No.
Huh.
I wouldn't be surprised to be fair. But
Gotcha. I have a bunch of family in Texas, so
yeah,
they had a bunch of stuff going on.
yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
So how was
Yeah,
your
one of
week?
them
Oh,
one of them
continue.
oh, my week's been good. Like I said, we just moved. Right now we're trying to get all of our furniture into the room. We have a giant blow-up bed right now that is the queen size, and it takes up like half the room.
Is
We're
this
waiting
like
for our actual bed to show up in the mail.
oh, okay? Is this like the place that your wife's gonna stay at, or is it like
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
this is the permanent place that she's staying.
okay, that's cool. And what is she doing? She works at a play, right? She's a theater company. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I mean, she's an aspiring actress. Right now, she just works at she works at a fine dining restaurant.
Uh, I was like, wait, I was like,
Yeah.
I bet she's a waitress.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah, boy, really good. I mean, she's at a Michelin star place. Like it has one Michelin star, which I don't know if you know what that is at all.
No idea. Absolutely no idea.
Okay.
Is this,
Michelin, the tire company.
yeah, go.
Yeah, Michelin, the tire company. Back like way back in the early 1900s, they were trying to get people to buy cars and drive cars more.
Mm-hmm.
That way, the tires would get worn down more, so that they would sell more tires.
Mm-hmm.
So they created a guidebook, a traveling guidebook, and they would go around. I think they started off in like London or Paris or something. They would go around to cities and they would like go to restaurants and things,
Mm-hmm.
and they would give it 0 to 3 stars,
Mm-hmm.
or well, let's say they would give it 1 to 3 stars, or they just wouldn't mention it at all. If you get 1 star, it's like, hey, if you live in this city, it's really worth it to go to this restaurant.
Mm.
Like you have to do it at some point.
Mm-hmm.
If it has 2 stars, like basically within the same state,
2 stars, you said?
or if it's if it's a European 2 stars.
Yeah.
If you're within the same country, if it's a European country or like within the same state,
Mm-hmm.
then it's worth it to travel all the way there just to eat here.
Wow.
And if it has 3 stars, it's like it's worth traveling to this place no matter where you live
Mm-hmm.
just to eat at this restaurant.
Mm.
Like you could like it's worth it to travel around the entire world just to eat here. It's that good.
Wow.
And they have 1 star.
Okay.
So yeah, getting 1 star is very prestigious.
I got you.
Getting 2 or 3 is like you have to book the place years in advance to eat there, that kind of thing.
Damn. Do you get to eat there for free? No.
No, well, actually, now that you mentioned it, they want all of their servers to sample the entire menu.
Yeah.
So we're actually going to go eat there, and she gets to eat there for free because they want her to eat there at least once.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then I'm gonna go too, and I get like a 25% discount.
Ooh. Getting
Yeah,
getting on the in.
Still expensive.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. I bet. That's cool though. That's awesome. See, my week was I went to LA for well, technically 2 days. Left there at 4 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. Got there at let's see, I think like at 12 or 1. Went to USC to go see my bro. Um, he's there for school now. He's enjoying it, which is awesome. The campus is extremely nice, of course, on that money. So it was cool. We got to see him for a little bit, and then we went to a LA Galaxy soccer game. and then ate at a couple places, and then came back here. The one, have you heard of the we ate at this place? It's called the Pantry. Have you heard of it?
No.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, like the Pantry or whatever, it's like a place that's been there since like 1920 or whatever. And I guess for LAians, I don't know what you call them, for people from that LA or whatever, it's like a well-known breakfast
Uh,
place, or you can eat. They have breakfast 24 hours, and I think the pantry's like in a couple places, but like we went to like the original pantry that's like been there since the 20s or whatever. And I'm like, okay,
okay.
like it says like I just want to eat food, like I'm extremely hungry or whatever. And so we get there, right? There's a huge line. There's a line out the door
Hmm.
to go eat breakfast
Wow.
like at 10 o'clock, I think, or 10 or 11, I think. And so we have to wait in this line for whatever, right? And then we find out they don't take credit cards, or they don't take debit or whatever. Yeah, exactly. This is
What?
exactly. So like, so we
Okay.
had to go to the ATM, come back, and like and just wait back in line again. We go there and eat, and like I'm trying to think right now. So we go there, and the food's like, eh, it's nothing to die for. But I'm so surprised that there's a line out the door for it. But like, it's the funniest enough is that like I was ordering my breakfast, whatever. I'm like a very simple guy. I like eggs, like I'm a ham, potatoes, and maybe like if if I want to splurge a little bit, I'll have like a half a pancake or something like that. So like
Hmm.
I'm ordering food. So I look. I think I do the steak. It was a steak and eggs, I think, or ham, steak and eggs, or something like that, or something like that. And
Okay.
so they come with the food. In my head, I'm like, you put more eggs than you do meat, right? I mean, that's how things, in my opinion, that's how things go. Like legit, like I get
Hmm.
piece of ham because I asked for the whole one, like the size of like I don't know. You probably have to be like maybe 8 inches, 8 by 4 steak of ham.
Okay.
Maybe even longer. I have a picture. I'll send it to you. I'll probably put it in the video version of the podcast. But it was so huge, and I got this little piece of like eggs, and I'm like, ugh, I was like, I have to eat this. So I ate like probably half of it, and probably everyone else in my fam got like a piece of it. But I was just like,
Dang.
I could have been to went to Denny's or any other place, I would have been happy. But I was like, why in the world would you? The first thing that kind of like was kind of odd was like, of course, why would you not accept credit cards at a 21st century restaurant, or a restaurant that exists in 21st century, unless especially in the United States.
Yeah.
And everyone was trying to rationalize it like, oh, no, I didn't really ask them, but like everyone's sort of like, well, there's benefits to not having a credit card, but it's like, I mean, like the benefits that you have from not using credit card is so slim, but you're better off having a credit card essentially, especially when you have a line
You're
out the
much better off having a card.
especially when you have a line out the door. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'd say the time that it takes to get change is no. No,
Yeah.
buy a system. It's
Mhm.
cheap.
Mhm.
Sometimes
Yeah.
it's even free.
Yeah. So it was that was interesting. I was like, I'm better off being at Denny's or whatever.
Ham steak. I see what you're saying. A side of ham steak. That sounds intense.
Yeah. And it's funny because the
It's
guy
pretty
at,
pricey.
are you looking at it right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking at their menu, it's a pretty pricey place.
Yeah. It's not worth it.
Dang.
It's not worth it.
It
My dad's like,
has amazing reviews, so I guess you're the outlier.
I guess I was hungry and we had to wait in line for a long time. And I guess I was
Hmm.
more hungry than enjoying the food. So I ate, and I was happy. It was all cool. So no, like, yeah, it was definitely a very good weekend. Actually, the LA experience I had during that time was a lot better. There wasn't as much traffic. We didn't have to like deal with people all that much. I still don't like it. I
That's
still,
fine. It's
yeah,
open 24 hours a day, though.
yeah. I
Nice.
go eat there like 1 o'clock in the morning. But then again, I think like Denny's does that too. I don't know. I'd rather do Denny's. Just like there's
Yeah,
no.
there's a couple cafes that are open. I'd say you're is Denny's paying you for this?
No, 'cause I want. Okay, we are not
Like
sponsored by
A
Denny's.
Denny's opens up right next door to the pantry, and you're like standing outside going, yeah, 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 go, no, no, screw that place. They suck. They don't even take cards. Go to Denny's.
Go to Denny's.
Trust me, it's worth it.
Exactly. But no, it was a very good vacation. Got to see the bro, especially he was dying in his room because they have no air conditioning in
Hmm.
his apartment on campus. So I went in there like, okay, it shouldn't can't be that bad. It's like you can just smell the sweat of like because it's all boys or all men's floor, so you can just smell like the sweat in the
Mm-hmm.
air when you walked into that part of the apartment or the dorms. I was like, oh my god, this is like Auschwitz
Mm-hmm.
up in here or whatever. I'm just kidding, no.
Mm-hmm.
And he was telling me how like it was so hot that weekend because we had that heat wave come in. But, like one of the things he had to do was like because I guess the he has his room and then he has his shower kind of like across the hall literally from his room. So he literally had to go into the shower and then take a cold ass shower and then come back in and then go to sleep. Like that's how bad it was for him. I was just like, oh, it's like you asked for this, no complaining. But no, it's all good. What's your I showed pictures of your dog to a bunch of people.
Oh,
What's your
okay.
what's the dog's what kind of dog is it? What
It's the canine kind. It's the
no what breed is it?
let's
Sorry,
see.
the breed. Sorry.
I was seeing if you could find the word.
Yeah,
Um, he's half golden retriever, half poodle. It's called a golden doodle.
golden poodle. I'll have to write that down. That's the cutest dog I've ever seen. I'm gonna put that.
Yeah, it's a golden doodle.
Golden doodle. I'll write that down. I'm gonna put that dog in the what's it called in the thumbnail and hopefully I get more views. we're just
Oh
gonna
man,
we're just
he actually had to get shaved recently. He looks really silly.
really. Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah,
Everyone's like that dog can't be real. That's fake.
yeah. He
That's hilarious.
looks. Oh my god, before and after of him is really funny looking. His hair will grow back though. Just have to give it time.
Oh, he has to like shed. Does he shed a lot, or he just have to like?
No, he doesn't shed at all. Actually, if you're any dog that's like half poodle is hypoallergenic and doesn't
Mhm.
shed. That's the reason there's so many half poodle things.
Oh, I got you.
No, he got a bunch of tangles. I think the brush that he's my uncle's dog. The brush
I
that
got
my
you.
uncle had, I don't think was sufficient
Mhm.
enough to get down to his. He has a lot of hair.
Yeah.
So it's like whenever I would brush him, it would only get the top.
Mhm.
Like no matter how much or how hard you do it.
Mhm.
Consequently, he got a bunch of tangles, and we took him to the groomer, and the groomer's like, it might be better just to shave him for now and let it regrow back,
Mhm.
because he's a puppy. He's only one.
Oh wow.
So he still has his puppy coat underneath,
Yeah.
and that's the part. That's the part that causes the biggest problem. It's not his hair. It's like he has this puppy coat, and it's really fluffy, and gets tangled really fast.
Yeah.
So,
It's funny because I was
yeah.
looking. I mean, I was looking at a YouTuber and he has two cats or whatever. I was watching his vlog, and like
Mhm.
you can see like he talks about like how it just shits everywhere the cats, and like he has a bunch of scratches on his hand trying to like deal with them, and that's my thing where it's just like I looked this up, but like there has to be some reason why you can't trust cats. Like there has to be some reason like
Okay.
they just are so shitty animals. And I found there's actually like I was looking on Google and Huffington posted a story on it, and the reason why cats are so shitty is because like they weren't domesticated correctly like dogs were to like serve human beings. Like
Okay.
like they said like it's basically science that
Okay, it's basically science, but not quite.
yes essentially what they were saying was that cats are kind of like they've kind of I forget what the word that they used, but essentially like we're not domesticating them, they're like domesticating us because we have to like clean up their poop or like they don't listen to us or like sometimes like when they're purring they're trying to like show like their control over us, like showing other cats that we're their territory. So actually and they actually do not like to be touched. They actually like rather be touched by their cats. And then that's why they're such like crappy animals. I'll put the link on, but I was just like that. I was like, that's the reason. There has to be a reason why.
that's
Like,
that's why they're such terrible. Okay, sure.
yeah. So I'm like, you
It
can't.
sounds like it sounds. So I'm guessing you're a dog person.
Yes, I'm a dog person. All my experiences
I
with
don't know.
cats. Yeah, go,
Like
go, go, go.
I've grown up with all types of animals, like almost literally.
Yeah.
Like I've had lizards and fish and birds and cats and dogs and horses and
Hmm.
anyway, the problems you're describing with the cats, I've never had these problems. It sounds
Really?
like maybe the person it sounds like maybe you guys just don't know how to handle cats.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know. It's really entertaining to listen to.
No, it's
I've never had a cat that wasn't litter trained. Like
mm,
it's I mean it's like in their instincts to be litter trained. So I've never had that problem,
it's
and I've
funny.
never really had a cat scratch me except for when it was a kitten because they don't know how to retract their claws yet.
It was funny because like all my experiences with cats have been like they were good, and then that one moment they're just like why the heck did you just do that? Why the heck did you just swing at me? My cousin had this, and over in New Jersey, my cousins had this one cat, and so for some reason, this cat liked water. Like if you turn the faucet on, it would just sit there and just play with the water. And like I don't know if it was I forget I think it was me and then like other cousin who was staying at their place, but like there was one point where like they were me and them were showering. It was both of us, but we were showering in our in the shower in their showers, and like the cat would just sit
Hmm.
there and just stare at us, like really like just for some reason just stare at us and like go away and just sit there. And there was one time when I actually turned the faucet on and I was gonna turn it off I think, and it just like it scratched me. Like it's just like bruh, like really, like not cool, bruh. That's why I say never trust cats because one moment they're your friends and the next moment they're like they'll stab you in the back. They'll scratch you in the back. See what I did there?
Nah, you just gotta be faster than them. You got this.
So
Okay, so this is kind of messed up, but my dad was a really good soccer player when he was younger.
yeah.
So cats are really fast.
Hmm.
My dad had a lot of cats. One of the things he would do to practice his footwork is he would have he would see a cat and it'd be standing in the corner, and if you stand next to it in the corner, it feels like it's like okay, I feel like I'm kind of trapped. I'm gonna just move,
Yeah.
and he would stop it with his foot, like just put his foot in front of it, and if
Yeah.
he would try to go the other way, he'd stop it, and
Yeah.
they move really fast.
Yeah.
So he would practice his like footwork by like, okay, I'm stopping the cat, I'm stopping the cat, I'm stopping,
Yeah.
and that's one of the things he used to do to practice when he was like young.
That's cool. I'm gonna have to
I don't
bring.
know. I've
Yeah.
never had these problems with cats. I'm not really sure what advice to give you there. Don't piss off the cat when it's younger, I guess. I don't know. Be nice to the cat. The cat might be nice to you.
Meow. The cat like fuck you cat. Meow. I'm gonna bring it like what your dad did. I'm gonna have to bring cats to the soccer field when if I train like U10s. Like okay guys, I brought the secret weapon for like a box of cats. This cat is your friend. Be like Mr. Miyagi with like wiping the paintbrushes. I will get the cat to work their soccer skills. Brilliant, brilliant. But yeah, it was funny. I had to look on Google. Like I was watching this YouTuber. I'm like, there has to be some like connection. Like this cannot be some like anomaly. I had to look it up. So like, I looked up like why cats are shitty. That's why, or why cats are terrible. I looked up on Google, and like I wasn't the only one who had this problem or had this thing. It was funny. It made myself laugh. But yeah, no, my week was pretty
Yeah,
chill.
no, I think it's just
Yeah, go.
being around different animals is very different things.
Hmm.
Um, you can't treat a cat like it's a dog. It's not gonna like you if you do.
It's not gonna listen to your instructions.
Say again.
It's not gonna listen to your instructions.
If you know how to train a cat, you can train a cat to do a lot of crazy stuff. If you don't know how to train a cat, it's going to resent you and think that you're evil, and consequently will be mean to you.
So it's all about train. It's like train your dragon, train your cat. How to train your cat.
Yeah.
That's
Well, the How to Train Your Dragons are actually based on cats. That's why they move that way.
really.
Or well, Toothless was. Toothless, yeah,
Oh wow,
is based on a cat. That's it's like a cat.
that makes sense.
If you look at the way he moves, it's very like it's closer to the ground.
Wow.
Dog in there. That's like the spinning around and the eager
Oh.
running around and stuff.
Okay. But yeah, I'm still not gonna get a cat though. I'm totally gonna get a dog. Do you for
That's
you?
okay. It doesn't
Yeah.
sound like you know how to deal with cats.
Oh,
So
I already have
it's
this.
probably better for everyone.
I think I already have this negative opinion towards them, it's like it's not gonna get any better for the cat or for me. The cat's like, why did you owe me? Why did you decide to buy me? Like, was this? It's like, was this a good choice for both of us?
Yeah, I mean, can be good pets if you want like a lower maintenance animal, but
Definitely.
you definitely have to actually know what you're doing.
Now, I was looking on the same article. They talk about how cats are like solitary creatures, how they'd rather be alone. Would you agree with that, or would you find some problems with that?
Uh, that's I mean that's a little bit of a cats will generally want to. I mean, they're comparing it just strictly to dogs. Dogs are much more pack oriented,
Yeah,
and they'll usually see you as the leader, so they're definitely going to try to be around you more.
yeah,
And cats, they have their prides. They do like to be around, especially when they're just lazing about. They like to be near other animals.
hmm
But they hunt alone generally, and they are much more individual than dogs,
hmm
generally speaking. But it is a personality.
hmm But yeah, so no, I mean that was kind of interesting. When I was watching the video, I was like, okay, there has to be something with it. Um, um, yeah. So I'm probably gonna get a dog. I don't know. I have this thing like I don't know if I would want an inside dog or an outside dog. I would think I would like an inside dog because
Hmm.
I feel like have a lot more interaction with it. But I know that like inside dogs are
Hmm.
like there's a lot more maintenance. Like you have to make sure that they don't like crap and pee in your carpet or whatever, and then they get their bathroom time or whatever.
Yeah,
Go.
if you want the dog to be completely inside,
Well, both
crate training might be a good idea.
inside and outside for me.
Uh, Gotcha. Yeah. But yeah, for the first like year, it's gonna be much higher maintenance for the first year,
Hmm.
and then after that, it'll be much lower maintenance.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
So,
That's my pet plan. My pet plan. My PP.
when are you gonna get a dog?
I don't know. Probably when I'm out of college and dogs are expensive. They're like $1,000, and then you have to like keep them alive. So I don't know. It's gonna be a lot.
No, that super varies. I mean, you can get a dog basically for free if you want to adopt one.
Oh yeah.
Um, $1,000? I wouldn't say that's like average. I don't know. We used to breed dogs, and with this particular dog breed, depending on what color they were and what color their eyes were,
Mhm.
the cheapest was usually like around 500.
Yeah.
Like as far as what we actually usually sold them for 300. Um, but it was if they were a certain color and had one blue eye, they were 1,000,
Mhm.
and if they were that same color and had two blue eyes, they were $3,000. So like it definitely varied.
How big does a dog get? I'm trying to look at. It's called a goodle,
Which
golden
dog?
a golden poodle. How much is how
Golden
poodle?
golden doodle
Yeah.
doodle with a
Golden
D
golden
doodle.
doodle. Doodle. Trying to see how big
Yeah.
does your dog?
Um.
Okay, good.
Uh. They vary. I mean, so most breeds nowadays usually have like three different sizes.
Oh, that
It's small. He's smaller than a standard poodle. I don't know. He's
it
like,
says at height for males it's 2 to 2.5 feet at shoulder, and for females it's 1.8 to 1.9 feet. That's what Google's telling me. It says their temperament is
yeah, that sounds right. His head is like about halfway up my thigh, I think.
hmm and it says his temperament is trainable, intelligent, energetic, and friendly. Oh, that's such a cute dog. I might have to get one.
Yeah, we end like I said. So animals they have different personalities.
Hmm
Hugo is his name. He has like the perfect personality. He's such a good dog.
Yeah, perfect dog in the world. Most perfect dog in the world. I'm just kidding. Yeah. No, it's
Yeah, I think he's perfect for the environment he lives
I
in.
don't know. I think for me, like, I want a dog that's gonna want to do like run with me or whatever. And like, if
Mm.
like, because I was funny, like, or I want a dog that's like gonna protect my house when I'm gone. Like, it was funny because I was watching this video of like this home invasion, and the people had a dog in the house, and the dog was just totally chill. Like, bruh, like your house is getting attacked. Do something. or my other dog, or my other dog, like we used to have it was a golden retriever or something like that. I forget what it was, but or Labrador. I forget what it was. I forget what it was called. But essentially, the dog wouldn't attack you. It would just hump it would just hump your leg. Like it was totally like the wrong response we want. I guess it's better if like for like your friends or for like people the dog doesn't know or whatever. But more like if an intruder came in, he's gonna get a good hump. It's like, oh shit. Uh,
Oh man, that I think that explains Hugo pretty well, actually.
yeah. So no,
Yeah,
I don't know. I
I
probably
don't
want
know.
more like a more active dog, so I can run with it or whatever.
So
Cause
you
I'm
want an active dog that you can have on the indoors? Maybe try like a. There's something called an American Shepherd.
mm,
Um, it used to be called a miniature Australian Shepherd. Try that. It's um, they're energetic and they like to run around. You know, they're a herding dog,
yeah,
but they're pretty intelligent. They're able to be crate trained really well.
yeah,
And depending on what what temperament the particular dog has. I mean, I've seen some that are like literally just melt on the floor, like want to just lay down on your foot and sleep all day.
hmm
And then there's the ones that are like, I want to run and jump over everything all day.
hmm
So I don't know. I think that's if you want one that's actually energetic, then that might be good.
yeah. So no, when I saw your dog, I'm like, that's the cutest dog ever. I couldn't think it was real. Um, so yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, my week was awesome. It was pretty chill. I've just right now I've been starting research for my thesis. That's been interesting. Funny enough, I was texting my professor because I was gonna meet up with him, but he's in France right now, and I don't know.
Hmm.
I'll ask him when he gets back. But like he asked me like asked him like, is there anything I should be doing right now? And he
Hmm.
said no. This is the email conversation we're having. He said no, and he's like, "What have you been doing this? What have you been doing this summer?" Or something along those lines. I'm like, "How do I respond to this? Is he talking about like my personal life? Because I was like really surprised. Like he wants to know what I've been doing. Like you know what I'm saying, right? Or does he want to know about what I've been doing for research? So I just kind of told him what I've been doing just in general. I've told him like I've been reading, I've been doing this. I've been on vacations. I'm like, I think that's what he wants to know. And I sent him that email. He's like, oh, that sounds good. But I was asking about research. Like, oh, it's stupid me. And I'm just and I just sent him. I was just like, I've been preparing. I've been doing things like, who am I going to talk about for my research and doing brushing up on my Spanish so it's better. But it's just like, oh, if you can only be more specific. So just that was funny. So no, I've been doing my research and that's fun. And I'm just this is like I'm not really like doing the research. I'm more like just collecting the things that I have, pretty much like which people in the time period that I'm talking about will be really good subjects to kind of demonstrate what I want to bring out from that period. So it's kind of
Hmm.
like it's fun, but then it's almost overwhelming at the same time. So hopefully, if I when I go back to him, he'll probably help me with like that type of process too. So as well. So,
Gotcha.
but no, it's
Hmm.
look like it's gonna be a fun project, and I'm gonna make a I think I'll make a video of it, basically detailing what it's about and kind of the process, because I think it's people who want to get into it um, would be really find it really interesting, and hopefully they can learn from my experience and take something from away from it. So that's kind of been my week. It's been pretty chill, which is all good. All
Good,
good.
good. Yeah. Yeah, me too. I haven't really had anything going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yep. Let's see. We've been here for about an hour and 40. I think I'm pretty. My mouth is going. My throat. My throat's gone. Um.
I could keep talking. I don't think I have any more topics.
Yeah. I think that's good enough for today. What do you think? I'm
Yeah,
pretty.
that seems good.
Yeah. So I think we're gonna end it here, guys. Hope you guys all enjoyed the third episode of History Made Awesome podcast. Um, for the next week, I think I'm gonna have a. Well, I think we're gonna have a special guest next week. We're gonna see how that goes.
Cool.
So
Hmm.
me and Ben will kind of talk about how we want to do it. But no, it's been cool. It's been awesome. Again, we're on now on Twitter. You can find us at it's history made awesome, but it's a instead of it's um at history AWESE. I have to look. I'll put it up somewhere. It's history. I have to look on.
Yeah, I think that might be a good idea.
Yeah, hold on. I'll just look it up. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. I have it on. Oh, it's history. Hold on, I'll look it up. It's at history made AWSM. It's history made awesome. Uh, sorry. My mouse going. It's history made awesome Twitter, but it's at history made AWSM. Because there's not enough words in the at. So definitely tweet us there if you have questions, anything from the podcast or anything else in general you guys want us to talk about on the podcast. Um, yeah, and you also find us on Instagram at History Made Awesome on Instagram. I'll be posting funny pictures and things of that nature that I find funny. Um, and I'll be posting pictures, all the pictures of Ben's uncle's dog. If you guys want to look at that all day or whatever.
I didn't know. I wasn't aware we had an Instagram.
Yeah.
I was made aware of this.
Yeah. So definitely, if you guys want to get involved in the conversation or want us to talk about things on the next podcast or whatever, or some video ideas, definitely send this stuff out. There's been another gameplay coming out next week, and also gonna try. There's also some new videos gonna come out next week as well that I'll work on right now. I'm working on right now, and hopefully they come out very well, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got. Ben, any last closing comments from you? God, I can't talk anymore.
Nope.
Okay.
No, nothing else.
Okay. Well, I hope you guys all enjoyed this episode. It was a lot of fun, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Used to wonder what it feel like.